Today's daf is daf Sadi, and we got up to Rav Papa Omar yesterday, and that's Rav Papa Omar's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines down from the top. Machlokes, the Machlokes between Rabbi Nosson and Rav Bonon about whether you could be mefer a neder before the chalos in a case where the neder is going to be chal later on. That's only ba'afar. Rabbi Nosson Sover Ein Abal Mefer El Im Kein Chal HaNeder. We'll soon see how Rabbi Nosson derives this from a pasuk, and Chachamim will derive the opposite conclusion that there is hafara before the Chalos HaNeder from a different pasuk. But just to fast forward for a second, Aval B'She'ela Divrei Hakol Ein Chacham Mater Klum El Im Kein Chal HaNeder. So Rav Papi's position is that even though the Chachamim disagree with Rabbi Nosson about hafara, they do agree and concede to Rabbi Nosson with regard to she'elu, with regard to she'elas chacham. So getting back to Rabbi Nosson, according to Rav Papi, Rabbi Nosson derives his conclusion that there's no hafara before the chalos haneder midichsiv from a pasuk in Yeshayahu Hanavi. And it says there, v'chafra halevana. And he darshans that v'chafra is miloshen hafara, like the hay replaces the ches, and the word levana is to be broken up into two parts, and you has the hay and the lamed is chal, because as we said before, the hay and the ches can replace each other. And bina is referring to binyan, to build something. And you could be mefer only after the neder is chal, because only then it's considered that it's built. And v'chafra halavana means that hafara is after the building. After the building means after the neder is chal. And this is based on a Gemara that says back on Daf Chav Beis, Hanoder ki ilu bana bama. So that's where neder is similar to binyan. Now the Tosas and the Rush, they say this is not really a drasha gemura, it's only a siman bi'alva, but really Rabbi Nosson is based on svara. You cannot be mefer before the chalos ha'isa because there's no neder chal, so how can you be mefer neder? Now he has here another alternative girs of Yesh Garson Dichsiv Vehefers and Neder Asher Aleha. And that implies only after the Chalos HaNeder. According to the Shita of Gubetzes, the drasha of Rabbi Nosson is based on the end of the pasuk, which doesn't appear here on the page, Ki Molach Hashem Tzvakos. And what it means is v'chafra levana, bizman shebo yikayim HaKadosh Baruch Hu es nidra limloch olenu. So we derive from this that hafara is only after the neder is chal. V'rabbanan Amri, back in the Gemara, Baal mefer afal pisha lo chal haneder chsiv pasuk in Iyov mefer machshavos haruvin. So you see this hafara even on machshava, and we derive from this that the neder is now in a gather, it's defined as machshava, and yet, even though it wasn't yotzel apol, you can still be made for it. And once again, a similar explanation of the Gemara that we saw earlier with regard to Rabbi Nosson, we have here the name of the Chassam Sofer with regard to the Rabbanon, that ein pasuk zeh miyutar l'drasha. The pasuk is not at all talking about hafaras nedarim. That's not the subject of the bracha of this pasuk. But we're going to derive from this that hafara is even on something that's a dvar machshav. That has enough gemina with gabi hafaras nedarim. Now Rav Papi says Aval B'She'ela with regard to a chacham being shoel on a neder, divrei hakol, even Rabbi Nosson agrees. I'm sorry, even the chacham agree that ein chacham mater klum elam kein chal haneder. So whereas with regard to hafara, the Rabbanan hold that there's hafara on the machshava, so to speak, on the ma'aser neder before the chalos neder, but in she'ela, the chachamim concede that there's no she'ela until the chalos neder. And the logical distinction here between hafara and hatar is the following: with regard to hatar's chacham, there's a din that the noder has to come in front of the chacham with charota. The chacham cannot be matter the neder without the noder's charota. And it's impossible to be matter before the chalos perpoal, because before the chalos, then the noder doesn't feel the impact of the neder. He's never been obligated at any moment in time to fulfill that neder, and therefore he really cannot have a true charota. Chsiv lo yachel dvaro. And the Chachamim, and we saw this quoted in the name of the Gemara in Brachas Lamed Beis, Hu eino meichel aval acherim mochlim lo. From here we learn about the koach, the authority of the Chacham to be matir nedarim, and the word yachel means chalos. So we see that the din of hataras nedarim through a chacham is only when there's a chalos neder b'fal. Now, Rav Papi is not the only game in town. So the Gemara is going to try to prove Rav Papi and then reject all those proofs and then present an alternative to Rav Papi. Lema v'sayele, can we quote a brisa to support Rav Papi? A person declared, Konom she'eni neder leploni. He took a neder that he will not give hana to so-and-so from his nechasim. And in fact, it seems like in the girsa that we have, which is the Ran's girsa, the neder was imposing an iser on ploni from the nechasim of the noder. However, the Rosh and Tosfos have a different reading here. They have shalo yenem ploni, that he said he enjoins himself from getting any hana from ploni, and he also took a neder that he wouldn't get hana from the chacham, who would be shoel when he would be shoel the neder from that chacham l'misha eshal olav. And here the assumption is that ein kavanosa lesser atzur ba'nosa chacham eli achar sheyatirenu b'foal. So the second part of his neder, of his konam, l'misha eshal olav, means after the chacham will be matir the neder, then the right after the chacham will be matir his neder, then the second part of the neder will be chal. So what that means, therefore, is that it's only after the chalos heter of the after you shol the neder, and that's why it says here in this brisa that nishal ala rishon. First, he goes to the chacham to be shol on the first neder, and only afterwards, v'acharkach, once the chacham was matir his neder, and therefore the second neder could now go into effect, which prohibits hana onto the chacham, is nishal al hasheni. Only then could he be shol on the second neder. V'yamrit, if you're going to reject Rav Papi and say that nishal afal bishlo chala neder, that the chachamim, just like they have hafara before the chalos neder, they could have shelas chacham before the neder. Then iboy hai nitshal beresha, iboy hai al hai nitshal beresha. He should have a choice whether he wants to be shol the first neder first and the second, or the other way around. He can be shol on the second neder before he was shol on the first neder. The Gemara rejects this proof. Umi yada. Do we really know what the Bryce has in mind when it says Hai Kama? Kama meaning the first neder, I high basa, and the basa is the second one. It's possible that the Tana did not have in mind that the Kpeda that has to be which neder will come first. He only means to say that he should first be shoel on with whichever neder he chooses to be shoel, and that's going to be called the Rishon in the language of the Tana. Elo le Messiah, let's quote a different brisa as support for a puppy that a chacham cannot be matur neder before it's chal. A man declared konam she'eni nene leploni, which means he will not allow Ploni to have any hana from his nechasim. Hareini nazir l'she'eshoel olam. So he made a t'nai that when it'll be shoel on this neder, Eitzel Chacham, Tachol Olav Nazirus. And in this case, he's got two Nedarim. He's got a Neder Shlo Yeneh Ploni, and he's got a Nazirus that he took upon himself. But that Nazirus is only going to be Chal when he will be shoel on his first neder of Kodim Sheni Neder Ploni, Eitzel HaChacham. And what's the din in this case? Nishal al Nidro be Achakach Nishal al Nidro. He needs to have a Shelas Chacham to be matir the first neder first and the second neder second, and he cannot be matir the second neder because the second neder wasn't chal yet. And here you can't give the answer that we gave before, that Rishon means whichever one he chooses to be first, because of the language Acher Kach. So here's the proof. Nishal afal pishal chala neder. Then iboy al nidro itchil bereisha. Iboy al nidro itchil bereisha. Should have two choices. And it seems that no, you can't be matir the neder etzel chacham before it's chal. And the Gemara rejects even this proof. And why? Because maybe this brisa is to be attributed to Rabbi Nosson. Maybe the chacham would hold that just like a baal could be made for before the chalos neder, so to the chacham could be matir before the chalos neder. How do you prove from this brisa anything about the chachamim shita? After all, it's Rabbi Nosson who holds that even in the case of the Baal, he has to wait until the Chalos Neder because he can be made fair. And so too the Chacham cannot exercise his authority to be matir the Neder until the Neder is Chal. But as far as the Chacham is concerned, it's still an open-ended question. And now we're going to present a shita that's against Rav Papa. And Rav Papa was the one who said that with regard to Torah's Chacham, even the Chacham of Rabbi Nosson agree and concede that he cannot be matir the neder before it's chal. But now I have a different tradition of what Rav Papi said. According to my transmission of the Torah, Machlokes Ba'afara, Amal b'she'ela divrei akol meifir. The word meifir is a little bit misleading him, confusing. Meifir means matir, that the chacham could be matir according to everyone. Apal pi shlo chal neder means even Rabbi Nosson would agree that the chacham has an authority that, in a sense, extends beyond that of a baal. Whereas the Baal cannot be made for according to Rabbi Nosson before the Neder Chal, but the Chacham could be matir even before the Chalos HaNeder. The Tzivlo Yachel Dvoro, the Torah emphasizes Dvoro. Dvoro just means Dibur. And Dibur means the Maisa of Hafloas HaNeder, before the Chalos HaNeder. So we have here Ravina on the other extreme, saying that with regard to She'ela, everyone, even Rabbi Nosson, agrees that the Chacham could be Shoel even before the Chalos HaNeder.